and then release it appropriately in the tissues. Anemia is derived from the Greek word anemia, meaning without blood. A decrease in hemoglobin concentration of number of red blood cells results in decreased oxygen delivery to the tissue, resulting in tissue hypoxia. Anemia should not be thought of as a disease, but rather as a manifestation of an underlying disease or deficiency. Therefore, causes of anemia should be thoroughly investigated. Anemia is defined as the reduction in hemoglobin content of blood that can be caused by a decrease in red blood cells, hemoglobin, and hematocrit below the reference interval for healthy individuals of similar age, sex, race, under similar environmental conditions. The history and physical examination are important components in making a clinical diagnosis of anemia. A decrease in oxygen delivery to perform day-to-day activities. This gives rise to the classic symptoms associated with anemia, fatigue, and shortness of breath. Good history taking is essential in rendering a diagnosis of anemia. You ask for the patient's diet, drug ingestion, history of exposure to chemicals, occupation, hobbies, and travel. You also inquire about the bleeding history, race or ethnic group, family history of disease, neurologic symptoms, intake of previous medications and previous episodes of jaundice, and various underlying disease processes that result in anemia. So to elucidate the reason for a patient's anemia, one starts by obtaining good history. A thorough discussion is required to elicit any potential cause of anemia. For example, iron deficiency can lead to an interesting symptom called pica. Patients with pica have cravings for unusual substances such as ice, in which case we call it pagophagia, cornstarch, or clay. Alternatively, individuals with anemia may be asymptomatic, as can be seen in mild or slowly progressive anemias. So the following foods can interfere with iron absorption. You have your tea, coffee, milk, foods that contain tannins such as grapes and corn, and foods that contain phytates or phytic acid such as brown rice and whole grain wheat products. Consumption of diet low in iron-rich foods can lead to iron deficiency anemia. So for physical examination, you should examine for the presence of petechia, pallor or jaundice, hemorrhage, evidences of mucosal bleeding, sternal tenderness, lymphadenopathy, cardiac murmurs, splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, and you check if the patient is tachycardic. So certain features should be evaluated closely during the physical examination to provide clues to hematologic disorders. Jaundice or yellowish discoloration of the skin and sclera is important for the assessment of anemia because it may be due to increased RBC destruction, which suggests a hemolytic component to the anemia. Measuring vital signs is also a crucial component of physical examination in that patients experiencing a rapid fall in hemoglobin concentration typically have tachycardia, whereas if the anemia is long-standing, the heart rate may be normal due to the body's ability to compensate for the anemia. A person with a hemoglobin of 7 to 10 grams per deciliter may have the following symptoms. They have headache, vertigo, muscle weakness, lethargy, dyspnea, pallor of the conjunctiva and nail beds. A person with hemoglobin less than 7 grams per deciliter may have tachycardia and hypotension. So as you can see, the severity of the anemia is gauged by the degree of reduction in hemoglobin, cardiopulmonary adaptation, and the rapidity of the progression of the anemia. Now, how does the body adapt to anemia? If the anemia is caused by sudden loss of volume, usually this occur in minutes to hours, they will have increase in heart rate, respiratory rate, and cardiac output. However, if the anemia is caused by slow loss of blood, which usually occurs over days to weeks, these patients may have decrease in hemoglobin oxygen affinity by increasing the production of 2,3-biphosphogycerate, and they will also have increase in erythropoietin production by the kidneys. Shown in the slides are the different mechanisms of anemia. First and foremost, it can be secondary to ineffective erythropoiesis, wherein the production of erythroid precursor cells are defective. They undergo apoptosis in the bone marrow. This is the mechanism for megaloblastic anemia, wherein there is deficient DNA synthesis due to the vitamin B12 or folate deficiency. This is also the mechanism of thalassemia, wherein there is deficient globin chain synthesis, and sideroblastic anemia, wherein there is deficient protoporphyrin synthesis. So in megaloblastic anemia, thalassemia, and sideroblastic anemia, the peripheral blood hemoglobin is low, which triggers an increase in erythropoietin, leading to increased erythropoietic activity. Although the RBC production rate is high, it is ineffective in that many of the defective RBC precursors undergo destruction in the bone marrow. The end result is a decrease in the number of circulating RBCs, resulting in anemia. Another mechanism of anemia is insufficient erythropoiesis, wherein there is a decrease in the number of erythroid precursors in the bone marrow, resulting in decreased RBC production and anemia. There is infiltration of the bone marrow with granulomas, as in the case of sarcoidosis, or it can be infiltrated by malignant cells in the case of acute leukemia. Factors which can lead to decreased RBC production can be secondary to inadequate intake, malabsorption, excessive loss from chronic bleeding, in which cases it is secondary to deficiency of iron. Another is deficiency of erythropoietin in the case of renal disease. Another is loss of erythroid precursors due to autoimmune reaction in the case of aplastic anemia, acquired pure red cell aplasia, and finally, it can be secondary to infection, for example, secondary to parvovirus B19. You know that iron is an essential element for blood production. RBC use hemoglobin to transport oxygen around the body, and that to make hemoglobin, cells require iron to build a component called heme. On the other hand, erythropoietin is a hormone secreted by the kidneys that increases the rate of production of red blood cells in response to falling levels of oxygen in the tissues. Erythroid precursors are produced continuously in the bone marrow, but a substantial portion dies before reaching the blood circulation. By inhibiting apoptosis, erythropoietin increases the number of cells that will be able to differentiate into circulating RBC. Because parvovirus B19 infects erythroid progenitor cells in the bone marrow and causes temporary cessation of red blood cell production, patients who have underlying hematologic abnormalities are prone to cessation of RBC production if they become infected. The third mechanism of anemia is blood loss and hemolysis. For example, secondary to acute blood loss when there is traumatic injury. Another is chronic blood loss. For example, there is presence of intermittently bleeding colonic polyp, and this induces eventually iron deficiency anemia. Or maybe secondary to increased or excessive hemolysis. For example, there are intrinsic defects in RBC membrane, enzyme systems, or hemoglobin, or extrinsic causes such as antibody-mediated processes, mechanical fragmentation, or infection-related destruction. So hemolysis is the medical term used to describe the destruction of red blood cells. Your body is constantly destroying old or damaged red blood cells and replacing them with new ones. Red blood cell destruction is a normal, healthy process, but sometimes red blood cells get destroyed too soon, causing you to have too few red blood cells. This results in a condition called hemolytic anemia. So, now let's proceed to the laboratory diagnosis of anemia. First and foremost, you have your complete blood count with RBC indices. So your CBC, you can see there your RBC count, hemoglobin concentration, hematocrit, WBC count, platelet count, as well as the RBC indices, like your immune cell volume, which is the most important index, MCH, and MCHC. So automated analyzers also provide RDW, or red cell distribution width, which is an index of variation of cell volume in red blood cell population. An increased RDW correlates with anisocytosis on the peripheral blood sphere. A reticulocyte count should be performed for every patient with anemia. The RBC histogram provided by the automated analyzer is an RBC volume frequency distribution curve with the relative number of cells plotted on the ordinate and RBC volume. In healthy individuals, the distribution is Gaussian. Shift in the curve to the left indicate predominance of microcytosis, while shift to the right indicate predominance of macrocytosis. Widening of the curve indicate anisocytosis. Another laboratory test is reticulocyte count. It is an important tool to assess the bone marrow's ability to increase RBC production in response to anemia. Analysis plays a crucial role in determining whether an anemia is due to an RBC production defect or to premature hemolysis and shorter survival defect. It is increase in hemolytic anemia, this is the hallmark, increase also in acute blood loss, and inappropriately low from decreased production of normal RBCs due to insufficient or ineffective erythropoiesis. Reticulocytes are young RBCs that lack a nucleus but still contain residual RNA to complete the production of hemoglobin. Normally, they circulate peripherally for only 1 day while completing their development. The adult reference interval for the reticulocyte count is 0.5% to 2.5%, expressed as a percentage of the total number of red blood cells. The newborn reference interval is 1.5% to 6%, but these values change to approximately those of an adult within a few weeks after birth. Another laboratory test is your peripheral blood film examination, wherein you will see the RBC diameter, shape, color, and presence of inclusions, if any. This serves as a quality control to verify the results produced by automated analyzers. You know, RBCs have a diameter on right stained blood film. Normally, it is 6 to 8 micrometers. It is called microcytic red blood cells, if the diameter of the RBC is less than 6 micrometers, and macrocytic if it is more than 8 micrometers. Aside from looking at the size of the red blood cells, your peripheral blood film examination also includes examination of the RBC shape abnormalities, for example, presence of sickle cells, spherocytes, schistocytes, or oval macrocytes, as well as RBC inclusion secondary to malarial parasites or basophilic steepings. For example, it is secondary to lead poisoning or presence of your Howell Jolly bodies. A review of the white blood cells and platelets may help show that a more generalized bone marrow problem is leading to anemia. For example, hypersegmented neutrophils can be seen in vitamin B12 or folate deficiency, whereas blast cells and decreased platelets may be an indication of acute leukemia. This table shows you the different RBC abnormalities and commonly associated disease states. Anisocytosis is the term used when the RBCs are unequal in size, while poikilocytosis refers to an increase in abnormal RBC of any shape that makes up to 10% or more of the total population. So anisocytosis is commonly associated with hemolytic, megaloblastic, and iron deficiency anemia. Macrocytes are associated with megaloblastic anemia, myelodysplastic syndrome, chronic liver disease, bone marrow failure, and reticulocytosis. Oval macrocytes in megaloblastic anemia, microcytes in iron deficiency anemia, anemia of chronic inflammation, sideroblastic anemia, thalassemia or hemoglobin E disease and trait, and poikilocytosis in severe anemia, and certain shapes in this case are helpful diagnostically. Spherocytes are associated with hereditary spherocytosis, immune hemolytic anemia, extensive burns along with schistocytes. Elliptocytes and ovalocytes are associated with hereditary elliptocytosis or ovalocytes, iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia major, and myelocytic anemia. Stomatocytes in hereditary spherocytosis, Rh deficiency syndrome, as well as acquired stomatocytosis secondary to liver disease and alcoholism, or it can be just an artifact. Sickle cells in sickle cell anemia and sickle cell B thalassemia, and hemoglobin C crystals in HBC disease. HBSC disease can produce HBSC crystals. Liver disease, hemoglobinopathies, and thalassemia may produce scotocytes or target cells. Microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, macroangiopathic hemolytic anemia, and extensive burns, along with microspherocytes, may also produce schistocytes, as mentioned earlier. Okay. This is also true for helmet cells or keratocytes. Folded cells can be seen in HBC disease and HBSC disease, and severe liver disease and neuroacanthocytosis may produce spur cells or acanthocytes. Then you also may see Burr cells or echinocytes in uremia, pyruvate kinase deficiency, and teardrop cell or dacrocytes in primary myelofibrosis, myelocytic anemia, thalassemia, and megaloblastic anemia. Moving on, these are the different erythrocytes inclusions which you may encounter. You have diffuse basophilia in hemolytic anemia or after treatment for iron, vitamin B12 or folate deficiency, basophilic steeplings in lead poisoning, thalassemia, hemoglobinopathies, megaloblastic anemia, and myelodysplastic syndrome. Then you also have Howell-Jolly body in hypersplenism, post-splenectomy states, megaloblastic anemia, hemolytic anemia, thalassemia, and myelodysplastic anemia, and Haynes body in G6PD deficiency, unstable hemoglobins, and oxidant drugs or chemicals. Pappenheimer bodies may be seen in sideroblastic anemia, hemoglobinopathies, thalassemia, megaloblastic anemia, myelodysplastic syndrome, hyposplenism, and post-splenectomy states. Cabot rings are associated with megaloblastic anemia and myelodysplastic syndrome, and HBH in HBH disease. So the cause of many anemias can be determined from the physical examination, clinical history, and the results of laboratory tests on the peripheral blood. Another laboratory test in diagnosing anemia is bone marrow examination. Bone marrow aspiration and biopsy may help in establishing the cause of anemia when the cause cannot be determined, however, or the differential diagnosis remains broad. It is indicated for a patient with an unexplained anemia associated with or without cytopenias, fever of unknown origin, or suspected hematologic malignancy. It evaluates hematopoiesis and can determine if there is an infiltration of abnormal cells into the bone marrow. The Prussian blue iron stain is used to demonstrate ferric iron in tissues. In iron deficiency anemia, there is decreasing or no amount of iron noted. Abnormal findings in bone marrow examination include abnormal cellularity, for example, hypocellularity in aplastic anemia. Another is ineffective erythropoiesis and megaloblastic changes in cases of folate or vitamin B12 deficiency or myelodysplastic syndrome. Third is lack of iron and iron stains of the bone marrow. It is the gold standard for the diagnosis of iron deficiency. And fourth, presence of granulomata, fibrosis, infectious agents, and tumor cells, which may inhibit normal erythropoiesis. Other tests which can be performed using the bone marrow sample include cytogenetic studies, immunophenotyping of membrane antigens by flow cytometry, and molecular analysis to detect specific genetic mutations and chromosome abnormalities in the cells. Other tests which you may request include routine urinalysis to detect hemoglobinuria with microscopic examination to detect hematuria or hemosiderin, fecalysis to detect occult blood or intestinal parasites, renal function test, hepatic function test, and serum haptoglobulin, LDH, unconjugated bilirubin to detect excessive hemolysis. Other laboratory tests which you may request include iron studies like serum iron, total iron binding capacity, transferrin saturation, and serum ferritin if an appropriately low reticulocyte count and microcytic anemia are present, serum vitamin B12 and serum folate assays to investigate macrocytic anemia with a low reticulocyte count, and direct antiglobulin tests which differentiates autoimmune hemolytic anemia from hemolytic anemias due to other causes. MCV is an extremely important tool and is a key in the morphologic classification of anemia. Microcytic anemia is characterized by an MCV of less than 80 femtoliters, and microcytosis is often associated with hypochromia, characterized by an increase in central pallor in the RBCs and an MCHC of less than 32 grams per deciliter. Microcytic anemias are caused by conditions that result in reduced hemoglobin synthesis. Heme synthesis is diminished in iron deficiency, iron sequestration in cases of chronic inflammatory states, and defective protoporphyrin synthesis as seen in sideroblastic anemia and lead poisoning. While your macrocytic anemia is characterized by an MCV greater than 100 femtoliters with large RBCs greater than 8 micrometers in diameter. For macrocytic anemias, these arise from conditions that result in megaloblastic or non-megaloblastic red cell development in the bone marrow. Megaloblastic anemia is caused by conditions that impair synthesis of DNA, such as vitamin B12 and folate deficiency or myelodysplasia. So pernicious anemia is one cause of vitamin B12 deficiency, whereas malabsorption secondary to inflammatory bowel disease is one cause of folate deficiency. In megaloblastic anemia, this is characterized by oval macrocytes and hypersegmented neutrophils in the peripheral blood and by megaloblasts or large nucleated RBC precursors in the bone marrow. MCV can be markedly increased up to 150 femtoliters, but modest increases, 100 to 115 femtoliters, occur as well. So megaloblasts are large nucleated red blood cell precursors with non-condensed chromatin. Non-megaloblastic macrocytic anemia have large round macrocytic red blood cells. They are often seen in patients with chronic liver disease, alcohol abuse, and bone marrow failure. Normocytic anemia, MCV, is usually between 80 to 100 femtoliters. Some develop this due to premature destruction and shorter survival of red blood cells, as in the case of hemolytic anemias, and are characterized by an elevated reticulocyte count. Intrinsic causes of hemolytic anemia include membrane defects, hemoglobinopathies, enzyme deficiencies, while extrinsic causes include immune and non-immune RBC injury. Their direct antiglobulin test helps differentiate immune-mediated destruction from other causes. Other normocytic anemias develop due to decreased production of red blood cells and are characterized by a decreased reticulocyte. This beautiful algorithm shows you on how to go about evaluating the causes of anemia based on absolute reticulocyte count and mean cell volume, and then eventually coming up with the list of anemias which the patient may have. This table shows you the morphologic classification of anemia based on MCV and RDW. Okay, if the RDW is normal with a decreased normal or increased MCV, if the RDW is increased with a decreased normal and increased MCV. Now let's proceed to the pathophysiologic classification of anemia. First is anemia caused by a decreased production of red blood cells, secondary to a hematopoietic stem cell failure. For example, secondary to an acquired and inherited aplastic anemia. So in here, you have functional impairment of erythroid precursors, either secondary to a disturbance of DNA synthesis in the case of megaloblastic anemia, disturbance of hemoglobin synthesis in iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, sideroblastic anemia, and anemia of chronic inflammation, and disturbance of proliferation and differentiation of erythroid precursors in anemia of renal failure, anemia associated with marrow infiltration. Another is anemia caused by increased production of RBC destruction or loss of intrinsic abnormality. This may be secondary to a membrane defect, secondary to hereditary spherocytosis, hereditary elliptocytosis, pyropoikilocytosis, and paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. It may also be secondary to an enzyme deficiency, for example, secondary to G6PD, pyruvate kinase deficiency, and finally, secondary to a globin abnormality, for example, due to sickle cell anemia or other hemoglobinopathies. For anemia caused by increased production of RBC destruction or loss, for extrinsic abnormalities, you have immune cause, non-immune red blood cell injury, and blood loss, for example, in acute blood loss anemia. Immune causes include warm-type autoimmune hemolytic anemia, cold agglutinin disease, paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria, hemolytic transfusion reaction, and hemolytic disease of the fetus and newborn. For the non-immune red blood cell injury, you have your microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, macroangiopathic hemolytic anemia, and infectious agents. For disorder of iron kinetics and heme metabolism, impaired iron kinetics or heme metabolism can result in microcytic hypochromic anemia, in particular the following. You have first iron deficiency due to inadequate intake or increased need, for example, in cases of pregnancy, decreased absorption, and excessive loss. Infants, children, and women of childbearing age are at greatest risk for iron deficiency anemia. If iron deficiency anemia is present in men and postmenopausal women, the possibility of gastrointestinal bleeding should be investigated because it is the primary, although not the only, cause of iron loss. Iron deficiency is suspected when the CBC shows microcytic hypochromic red blood cells and elevated RDW but no consistent morphologic abnormality. The diagnosis is confirmed with iron studies showing low levels of serum iron and serum ferritin, elevated TIBC, and decreased transferrin saturation. Inadequate dietary iron is treated by oral supplementation, and with good patient adherence, the anemia should be corrected within 3 months. GIT distress resulting from iron supplements can make patient adherence a significant concern. Other causes of iron deficiency must be treated by eliminating the underlying cause or with intravascular iron administration. Next, another disorder of iron kinetics and heme metabolism, you have your anemia of chronic inflammation. This is associated with chronic infections such as tuberculosis, chronic inflammatory conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis and tumors, maybe microcytic hypochromic anemia, but most often it is a mild normocytic normocrot anemia. In anemia of chronic inflammation, increased levels of hepcidin, an acute phase reactant, decrease iron absorption in the intestines, and sequester iron in macrophages and hepatocytes occur. Bone marrow macrophages show abundant stainable iron, whereas developing red blood cells show inadequate iron. Inflammatory cellular products also impair the production and action of erythropoietin. Iron studies show the acute anemia of chronic inflammation have a decreased serum iron level, decreased TIBC, decreased or normal transferrin saturation, and normal or increased ferritin level. Third, you have your sideroblastic anemia, especially lead poisoning. So, sideroblastic anemias develop when the synthesis of protoporphyrin or the incorporation of iron into porphyrin is blocked. The result is the accumulation of iron in the mitochondria of developing red blood cells. And when stained using Prussian blue, the iron appears in deposits around the nucleus of the developing cells in the marrow called ring sideroblast. Iron studies in sideroblastic anemia show elevated levels if the serum iron and serum ferritin decrease or normal TIBC and increase transferrin saturation. Lead interferes with several steps in heme synthesis, preventing iron incorporation into heme and resulting in anormocytic normochromic anemia, although with long-term exposure, it can be microcytic hypochromic. Lead also impairs G6PD, which adds a hemolytic component to the anemia. So children are especially vulnerable to the effects of lead on the CNS, which may result in irreversible brain damage. Treatment consists of removing the source of lead from the patient's environment and, if necessary, chelating drug therapy to facilitate the excretion of lead in the urine. For anemias caused by defects of DNA metabolism, the root cause of megaloblastic anemia, as mentioned earlier, is impaired DNA synthesis. The anemia is named for the very large cells of the bone marrow that develop a distinctive morphology due to a reduction in the number of cell divisions. Megaloblastic anemia is one example of a macrocytic. Macrocytic anemias may be classified by cause. For megaloblastic anemia, this may be caused by the following: folate deficiency, vitamin B12 deficiency, general malabsorption syndrome, for example, in cases of inflammatory bowel disease, inherited errors in absorption and transport, competition for the vitamin, and other causes include myelodysplastic syndrome, congenital dyserythropoietic anemia, and reverse transcriptase inhibitors. For macrocytic non-megaloblastic anemia, it may be secondary to a reticulocytosis, liver disease, chronic alcoholism, bone marrow failure, or it may be normal among newborns. The classic CBC findings in megaloblastic anemia include the following. They have an elevated MCV, RDW, and MCH, decreased absolute reticulocyte count, decreased hemoglobin, hematocrit, RBC count, WBC count, and platelet count. Peripheral blood smear will show oval macrocytes and hypersegmented neutrophils. There is also elevation of the total indirect serum bilirubin and LDH. The bone marrow in megaloblastic anemia is hyperplastic with increased erythropoiesis. There are RBC precursors with NC asynchrony and giant metamyelocytes and bands. The cause in megaloblastic anemia is determined by using specific immunoassays for serum folate and vitamin B12. Immunoassays for antibodies to intrinsic factor and parietal cells can aid in the diagnosis of pernicious anemia. Additional tests for GIT disease or parasites may be needed. Treatment is directed at correcting the cause of deficiency and supplementing the missing vitamin. For pernicious anemia, lifelong supplementation with vitamin B12 is necessary. So this is my last slide. Listed here are my references for this lecture. I'm Dr. Cabrera. Enjoy the rest of the day.